Hi, ho everyone. My name's Mr. Fruit, and welcome back to the GG Over Easy podcast, episode 118. And in today's episode, we talk about all things. Well, we talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus, of course. We talk about the new concert, pop punk, when we were younger, or when we were young, whatever.
Pokemon.
We talked about
Pokemon Arceus, right?
I thought there was something
before that.
Yeah.
Oh, the Reddit moderator.
Yeah. That.
I feel bad for them.
Yeah, the whole Reddit.
But I mean,
fiasco currently. Questions and answers, other things you would think you're like, wow, you can't remember. You just talked about him. Yeah, it's gone.
Basically.
Yeah. So don't blame me. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. And your support wherever you do support us. Enjoy the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GG Over Easy podcast, episode 118.
69, 118.
You know what?
What is
if we go around the world enough times, you still won't be right.
Yeah.
No. Numbers, unfortunately, don't wrap around like the world.
Do you
can't
guys think
take enough left turns.
You guys think if Ariana Grande came out and was like, Spotify, it's me or GG Over Easy? Do you think
Ariana, I don't want to do this to you, but you know.
I mean, I think we got a chance on our hands.
Do we want to talk about that to start the podcast?
Well, I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
It was nice. Well, I guess
Neil Young versus Joe Rogan. Ding ding ding! Fight.
Old man, look at my life. That's the only song I lost from Neil Young, but I don't listen to the Joe Rogan podcast anymore.
Dude, so. Neil Young is a legend. I cannot believe that actually happened.
Well, I can't either. Like, I thought that was kind of meme.
I haven't. Like, are you saying what Neil Young said was mean?
No, a meme. Like it was.
Oh, a meme. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought it was. I kind of thought it was a joke, but at the same time, I was like, "Yo, if this goes down the path it goes, like they're absolutely keeping Joe Rogan."
I mean, Neil Young is like 1,000 years old, so like he doesn't probably know how to meme.
Rob,
so
that's insulting. It's like 998. Okay, like give him a little bit of credit.
I'm just saying he's from that generation that I think is just like that's how it is, and it's just like, oh, all right. Like,
well, funnily enough, he's a little older than Joe, but apparently has a more open mind than Joe.
He does.
So for those that don't know what happened, Neil Young was like, "Yo, Spotify." He like wrote this open letter or whatever. He's like, "I can't continue to be like have my music be on your platform while you spread like all this misinformation about science and COVID specifically." I think he called out like Joe Rogan.
Hey, base right? Neil Young though, like base as fuck. Young. Like,
but I think he like called him out specifically in his thing. Yeah,
specifically, yeah.
And he's like,
"Yo, stop being a bigot, bro."
It's like it's me or Joe Rogan. Sorry, Neil. I kind of saw how this one was going to go anyway. You think Spotify dropped hundreds of millions? Is like, Neil, you know what? You're right. Our bad. Instead, they made a letter. It's like, here at Spotify, we pride ourselves on whatever. And over the past couple of years, we've taken off several like 100 podcast episodes or things like spreading misinformation. They never mentioned Joe Rogan by name or anything. And they're like, we care about science. And also, we'll miss you, Neil Young.
Yeah, and also we care about science, but we don't care enough about science enough to call out Joe Rogan.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Because I mean, I don't blame them because to them,
yeah, they put a lot of money into them.
Well, that and for Spotify, whoever's making decisions, it's about money and what's making them more money.
Yeah, that's who. It's not the people with moral compasses that are going to be deciding this.
Mm-hmm. No,
it's the higher ups who are like, wow, okay, who brings us in more money?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is an easy pick.
And the crazy thing too is, it might just help Spotify more, frankly.
Yeah. And Neil Young is chilling, right? Like, you know.
I didn't realize though Spotify accounts for like 60% of all playbacks in the world for music.
I mean, I have a Spotify, you know, so everybody has one. That means, you know, because I got it first.
I've never listened to Spotify.
You've never had a Spotify? You don't have Blue? Do you have a Spotify?
I do have a Spotify.
I feel like that is like the kind of go-to one.
It's just easy, and that's where everything is.
And I like Spotify Wrapped.
I do like Spotify Wrapped.
I'm a sucker for that.
You know,
my song of the year is Drake. Kiki, do you love me?
My spirit animal
Kiki?
is Neil Young. No, that's I just don't really listen to it. But that does remind me. I think I wanted to bring this up last week. We had a lot of stuff we didn't bring up last week. Maybe we'll touch on the Activision thing. It's old news now, but you know, in this world, the 2 days out, it's over.
It's pretty true.
It's already old news. But there's that new concert coming out in fall. The When We Were Young, that giant whatever thing happened in Las Vegas with all the I don't even know what you like emo trend.
Pop punk.
Pop punk, indie punk, pop
Mr. Fruit.
all that stuff.
Middle school and early high school music.
Well, what's ironic though is Claire was like, "Oh my god, like I love this," and like My Chemical Romance and stuff like that's so great. She's like, "Do you know these people?" I'm like, "No," but then I started looking at all the obscure names around the giant names, and I was like, "I've seen almost all these in concert, and I don't go to concerts." And then it somehow like triggered a thing. I don't even know how. I don't really remember this. Back in high school and middle school, I went to all these concerts. I think I briefly talked about this. To all these like pop punk, indie pop, main indie punk bands with my older brother because he was huge into that at the time. But when he moved, he was living in Florida. I think like started my high school year, 8th grade or something. And when he was there, he was going to concerts, like a couple concerts every week with his friends because like half of those bands on that lineup, or like 3/4, they start out of Florida. Most of them out of like Fort Lauderdale,
Really?
Jacksonville. Yeah. So he saw like literally all these bands as they were just becoming bands, like A Day to Remember, Pierce the Veil, like half the stuff on there. And I mean, he'd seen them like dozens of times. He would help like, he'd get in for free because one of his friends would be like, "Hey, we just need help moving our equipment." So he'd just go backstage, move equipment, and he'd get in 12 of them free. So he did that a whole bunch while he was there. But then he had to move back, and none of his friends here were into any of that stuff. Frankly, I wasn't really either. But it was just kind of those, like, you love him, you're going to do it anyway. Like, I'll go with you.
It's true. Yeah.
And I went through a lot.
You see Red Jumpsuit Apparatus?
No, like when I tell you the small names, like we weren't going to, you know, Paramore or anything. Although he saw him a whole bunch in Florida as well. But it wasn't like, I'm talking like we're playing in 200-300 person venues, scrunched in, people throwing elbows, and all the people who are in front of the main people. I'm trying to the people that was the name of that.
My Chemical Romance, Paramore.
No, like when you go for a band and someone starts before you.
Headliner.
Yeah, so the people that play before the headliner were people like some of the most interesting people and or music I have ever heard. Like there was one
like Battle of the Bands type of bands. Like
one straight up just something like if the Satanic Cult had a band. It was something like we love. The name was something too like We Love Satan. It was literally something like that. Then they come out with all like their whatever the demon sign and sigils, and then they're like
a pentagram.
Yeah, they're like, "Thanks guys for coming out. All right, let's go." And then like I'm just like, my head hurts. I'm like, I don't understand a thing. And then of course with these people, it's like everyone's starting to back up. They're making the pit, and Dylan, my older brother's like trying to hold on to me because I'm not big enough at the time. Certainly you just got 20-year-olds looking to punch somebody with an excuse.
You weren't allowed to watch Yu-Gi-Oh, but you could go to these concerts.
Okay, well that Yu-Gi-Oh was also when I was like 6.
Okay.
And my parents also.
So you couldn't see rated R movies, but you could go to these concerts.
Well, they also didn't know I was listening to some demon praisers. But also, it was also at that point, like my older brother Dylan was old enough to do whatever he wanted. I was going with him, therefore it's okay.
They're like, that's cool.
Yeah, well, he's with his older brother. It's fine. Just the stickiest, sweatiest, beer always thrown all over you.
Yeah.
just very interesting things. But
Well,
there were some hidden gems in there. In fact, probably my favorite band is on the list. 4 Years Strong. I found that because of Dylan. Going through those things, love them. I really like A Day to Remember. They're one of the ones that got bigger, but most of the ones we got, Claire knew one of them. We the Kings. They were much more pop.
Check yes, yeah, that's a great one.
They came out of Florida as well. We saw them, but it was most of it was like on the heavier punk side. Like A Day to Remember was poppy.
More under oathy type.
It was like
Compared
emo post-hardcore.
Well, the thing too is like
type.
He would listen to that, but he kind of liked more pop punk, not just the
like
punk
Check Yes
part.
Juliet, like the check.
He liked those, but that was also a little too poppy. Like A Day to Remember was like a perfect medium. A Day to Remember is like a perfect medium. Or if you listen to like 4 Days Strong, you'll kind of get a feel.
So, did you get tickets?
We did end up getting tickets. Apparently, out of everyone we talked to, we're the only people.
Yeah, I was like, I tried. I did not get past a standby page.
But it's day 2 because they like during the ticket sales or whatever, they're like, hey, we opened up a day 2. A lot of red flags here, frankly, because more than half of these bands haven't played in years. Some of the band members are dead.
Really?
Broke up. Yeah, like almost none of those. Like the reason this is such a big thing is like we get to relive kind of like our generation a little bit older. That's why it's called When We Were Young is the name of the thing. We had to go back and see them all for
killer song as well.
Like 80% of them probably their last time. But you got to think how hard it was already going to be to get all these people together for a day. By the way, as I learned, on 3 stages, they're going to go through like 70 bands in one day.
Can I kind of be devil's advocate with that? Okay, we're not seeing Elton John and Led Zeppelin, these bands that have crazy discographies that need like.
Have you ever been to
you know what I mean?
Warped Tour?
Been to a festival, Rob?
No, I've never been to a festival. I've never.
All right, well, let me tell you, this shit, it looks impossible.
Warped Tour.
Just looking at it, think that
Warped Tour, they stopped those because it was already hard, and that was like half the bands. They would do like 40 bands over like 2-3 days across 7 stages. So now they're doubling the amount of bands, having the amount of stages, all in one day. Well, so people are like, what are they gonna do? Each person is gonna come up and play like a song, be like, all right, thank you, and then they just gotta like hustle and mic check. And
the other issue with it too is like when they're like, we're adding a second day, and it's like literally the exact same kind of schedule as the other one. And I don't think people wanted that. I think they wanted like, oh, like this band is playing on the first day, this one's on the second day type of thing. Where it would like be a little bit more spread, not like a copy paste.
Well, that was the thing is the red flag, I guess, in the first place was it was planned to be one day to get through all those bands. So the other thing too is I have to assume this was just a ploy to like build up hype, and ticket sales is like it's only one day, but they'd already probably signed all the bands to a second day knowing we're going to do a second day, but they didn't announce it. It's like, whoa, we're overfloated, second day, because you mean to tell me during ticket sales they're like, contact every single band again. Can we get them for a day too?
100%. They had a plan. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
There's no way they're just like, hey, can all of you guys do a second day?
Is that cool?
And all of them were like, oh, for sure, bro.
Not a problem, man. Yeah, that's totally fine. So we got tickets for the second day. And the worst part too is the tickets, technically, I guess we could refund. But like the hotel we got, everything around the time, they're non-refundable. So we're going to Vegas one way or the other.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm down. Like, at least we're in Vegas. That sounds fun. Like,
yeah. So I'm like, if it turns out bad, or like, because we'll probably be there, Friday night or whatever, and then we'll be Sunday. So if we hear during Saturday, it's just an absolute disaster or something. It's like, well,
maybe we just play the bachelor party now.
Gamba. Yeah. So
I'm gonna try and go. I tried to get tickets, but I figured we'll just pay like whatever it is around then. So
I mean, they're scalping for a lot. Let me tell you.
My cousin, my cousin plans on going, and they have like their parents, you know, they live in the California place, live the Valley, so they have like a room at the MGM. So we're trying to see if they're doing anything around it. So,
well, that's the other thing too. Is like it was gonna be cool too because so many you and other friends I knew were like, yeah, this would be totally cool. No one
agrees.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, I'm psyched. She's got her little choker ready. Let's do this. Yeah, but it just didn't pan out for most people. So
yeah,
yeah. Go. Just remind me of that. I forgot to talk about
that. You know how I'm going to be able to get those tickets is to work. And speaking of work, the opposite of work is anti-work.
Oh, nice. I see. Okay, it took a little while, but I like it. Okay,
yeah, it got there.
It's one of our better segues. It doesn't say much.
I thought so too.
I love it.
118 episodes in, I finally learned.
I've cracked the case. Reddit, however, has not.
Have you got that? Is got to be one of the most hilarious. Okay.
We always do this.
Okay, you're right. All right.
We need to preface with what are we talking about?
So there is this subreddit called AntiWork that has recently like exploded in popularity. I even follow it just because I think like
that's like almost
when I originally followed it like 2 or 3 months ago. Something. I followed it like a long time ago where I think it was like legitimate, like actual kind of like posts sometimes where people were just kind of sick of their, like you would see mostly like people like get asked to get a raise and then they'd ask like
shitty
people around
capitalist job complaints.
So like the employees would talk about like how much they make and then it'd be like, and then we all got the same raise. Like, cause I was asked for a raise and I asked my like coworkers what they got paid and we all ended up getting raises. It was like stories like that. And then it kind of turned into like this text message back and forth thing. Like, I'm not showing up to work today. We need you to show up. Like, fuck you type of stuff. And then I guess Fox, like the right wing Fox, like got wind of this
the news
subreddit
channel
for whatever reason. Like, I don't know how they got. Yeah, they must have just been like, dudes. Like, someone came in there and was like, we got a slam dunk.
I got a free slam dunk for us.
So a Reddit moderator goes onto Fox News, national TV, like.
Oh my god!
It's not like
lost the second the Reddit moderator went on.
Well, the important thing to note though is this specific moderator was chosen because the moderators were contacted by Fox previously about somebody coming on the show, and the moderators came together and decided this person was the best one to represent them.
And it's not so much like. When you go on Fox News, you got to play the game. You know, you have to ring light, suit, and like that's
they're gonna come at you. They're gonna gaslight you. They're gonna they're gonna throw at you all the most difficult questions to ask that don't actually address the topic.
Because Fox News sees anti-work and just goes, "Oh, lazy." Gen Z Zoomer like kids, like, and playing right into that narrative to the upper middle class, high class that watches Fox.
They're not there to see, okay, so what's the Reddit all about? No, they're there to be like, how can we own these guys live on TV?
And boy, let me tell you, they owned them all right. So they get a moderator to go on there. And basically, that has no proper media training, has a worse background than mine. And I'm not saying that's like a bad thing, but when you're going on Fox News, national television, you got to have your T's crossed and your I's dotted. Like everything has to get across or you're going to look like an idiot. And it was bad. And to the point where I think they said like laziness is a virtue. And it wasn't even like they weren't even getting like the proper points of like the subreddit across at all. Like it was just
they painted him exactly the way they wanted to. Like So if we want the headline buzz title, essentially they interviewed and embarrassed a autistic, non-binary, dog walking Reddit moderator for this AntiWork subreddit who works 20 hours a week but wants to work less and also dreams of becoming a philosophy teacher.
God,
and Fox is just like, this is...
That happens in 3 minutes. Like, this is 3-minute interview. Like
it was just up, and now, oh my God. He wasn't prepared. And then, like, that's part of it, too, is, like, it was just such, like, he looked disheveled in, like, poorly lit room. He really had nothing going for him, frankly. Like, it was just rough.
They were trying their really hardest, but, like, man, they came up short really bad to the point where, like, I've never seen real-time drama on a subreddit before like that, to the point where, like, I was there before they made it private and stuff like that, and it was wild. And then they shut down the Reddit because basically, I don't know if they're still on the mod team. I don't know if AntiWork is even still.
No, AntiWork's still a thing.
Is it?
But not only that, the subreddit themselves are upset. Like, we didn't know about this. You don't speak for us. And, like, none of what you were talking about is, like, really the points we're trying to drive home here. Because for him, and I mean, it's not a bad, like, his thing was like, I work like 20, 25 hours walking dogs, whatever. And that's totally fine. He's like, I'd like to work less. That's fine. If you're somebody who just doesn't like to work and you just want to have enough to just get by and stuff, like, that's not the problem.
Yeah, that's a fine way to live.
But
however, when you go onto Fox News, they're literally going to dog you
and make whatever narrative they want out of it.
Yeah. Every small little, like, oops, looks like you used "you're" the wrong way in this interview. You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Really though, like.
Well, I believe his name was Doreen. They don't have much going for him because now they have been accused of serial rape allegations.
Oh my God.
And coming out, it seems to kind of be guilty, or like it's. I don't know where this. It's just like when someone thinks of a Reddit moderator. That he's like the quintessential what they think of, and then like there's where do you find this guy?
You don't have a Reddit moderator, let alone a guy representing a subreddit. You don't have someone represent a subreddit.
And like that's what Fox News is. Like if Fox News really wanted to know about what they would go to like a professor that like studies that kind of thing. You know, they would go to, but they would just like, hey, let's find one of these Reddit moderators and try and have them tell us what they're doing instead of going to somebody who genuinely like studies that. And
I mean, we don't. I don't actually know what Fox requested though, because that's the other thing too. Is one, they went to the moderators, and the moderators decided we speak for the subreddit, which you're moderators. That has nothing to do with.
Yeah, you don't. You can't on your guy's own. You can't actually represent an entire subreddit.
In the best, I mean this in the best way possible. But it's like going to a school, and instead of getting the principal, you ask the janitor.
Like, hey,
where do you stand?
What is he gonna know? He doesn't do all. He's got a different job.
So it was just. It's like everything that.
If you haven't caught up on it, dude, catch up on it and go watch it. Like
if you
it's
like
one of those that will live
tea,
in internet infamy forever. It is one of those like it'll be something you watch 10 years from now.
And like I wouldn't be surprised a week from now. We know he eats babies. Like this might just keep. You know what I'm saying? Like this.
Like this. They would be getting a Tosh.0 web redemption if this was 8 years in the past.
It's just wild, man, and it's just it's kind of funny, kind of sad to watch it all just unfold in real time.
It's a little bit of both for sure.
Maybe a little more funny for me, but it's just hilarious. Just the context of everything going on, and like. That's
my
just
favorite was just the comment sections of Reddit, dude. They were letting them have it.
Like even the Reddit was not on their side. They're like, "What the fuck are you?"
And like the memes that come from it, and it's like the people who sub to AntiWork, and it's like coal miners in the coal mines, basically like working really hard. And then it was like the moderating team, and it was like a picture of Doreen.
Yikes! What a perfect storm. So good luck with that. What ended up happening after were people making posts on the subreddit, and then the moderators were just like nuking everything.
Yeah.
Any dissenting opinion, anything, and then they shut the Reddit down for a little while. Like, it was just wild. You gotta go read about it.
Crazy.
But it's like that. It really was like Fox, and for some of those more radicals, it was like just a slam dunk. They're like, we get it
right into their hands.
We don't even have to paint this guy as something. He's doing it for us.
3
and then
minutes.
We gotta just.
It's 3. That's what like is crazy to me. Like most like interviews you see to like somebody really bury themselves, it takes a little bit to do that. This took 3.
He was going for a not just a PB, but a world record, frankly. Any percent.
Bad.
Yeah.
Speaking of any percent, I'm owning it right now. How far would you guys say you're in your Pokemon Arceus playthrough?
Oh man, this game is so good.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Yep. Rob, you got like a couple hours.
Pardon your regularly scheduled podcast listening for this short ad break.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Don't let the wild pube wreck you. Valentine's Day is just right around the corner, and our sponsors at Manscaped are here for you with the best tools to get your balls ready for the special occasion. This V-Day, it's time to join the 4 million of men worldwide who trust Manscaped, the leader in below-the-waist grooming. With our exclusive offer, go to manscaped.com and use code GG for 20% off plus free shipping. For all my fellas out there, it's super important to have a clean pair of balls going into this Valentine's Day. You gotta be ready. Gotta have your T's crossed and your I's dotted, baby. My favorite Manscaped product at the moment is the 2-in-1 shampoo that they sent me. It's my go-to for everything. So get the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped. It's just the thing every guy needs in their life to make every day just that little more special. The number one product in this package is the Lawnmower 4.0. This electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on the loose skin. It also includes the Weed Whacker, nose, and hair trimmer to whack all of the worst weeds. So get 20% off plus free shipping with code GG at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com, code GG. Join Cupid and shoot your arrow with Manscaped this Valentine's Day.
First up, well, now that he's not here, it's Legends Arceus, clearly, because that's what I don't still buy it.
I'm going to end it all if I have to say Arceus.
It's just so, whatever, man. They can't tell me what to do.
It's Arceus, bro. You could
Rob
tell me it's not Arceus, but it's Arceus, bro.
Rob,
Fuck, it's dirty.
Rob just can't understand.
See, the thing is, this is like the perfect
fully
type of game
appreciate it. For me,
this is the perfect Pokemon game if you don't like Pokemon games.
That's kind of true. I mean, like, the funny thing too is so far, this feels like the Pokemon game most focused on actually catching them all and like interacting with the Pokemon, the monsters themselves, rather than really the RPG side of it. It's there, but so far I'm in, and I've fought like 3 trainers, and I'm 8 hours in. There's no gyms, no Elite Four or anything, which is fine. I don't think, like, we wanted them to mix up the formula. And that's what they're doing. Would I say no to gyms? No, because I'm a sucker like that. But they're mixing with the sauce. Graphically, yeah, it's butts. We saw that coming from a mile away.
Yeah, we
one thing
did see that coming.
It got going for it is it's kind of stylized, but
they definitely stylized it knowing that the graphics were not going to be a hit.
But it definitely looks like a GameCube game, like. Maybe even worse.
I mean, I wouldn't call it a GameCube game, but it's definitely not the prettiest game. The art style definitely carries it, because if this game didn't have this very, very specific art style, people would definitely be like, wow, this game looks miserable.
Yeah.
Like a Wii U game.
It definitely does it. The stylization and stuff does it favors. We'll just get to the I'm just going to get to the negative before I get to the positive, because for me, there's really, right now, my biggest negative is just the graphics and people trying to defend the graphics.
Yeah, my negatives are very minor, which is Not typical of a Pokemon game.
I know. It feels nice, you know. I mean, like catch us in a month or a week or two, I guess, and see what we think. But people's argument, this is not a Switch hardware thing. We have seen games that look better than this. And again, think Breath of the Wild came out 5 years ago.
So I was
5 years
saying
ago.
this, like the game,
Even The Witcher.
yeah, there's really no excuse. But I do have to say, like the Zelda devs are wizards, so it's hard to compare.
Okay.
Any game on the Switch.
Are they
to the
wizards?
Zelda devs.
Or is Game Freak and
Do they
Pokemon
care?
for whatever money
No.
not going to hire more people?
Are wizards.
Well, once
People
upon
are
a
still
time,
finding crazy shit in Breath of the Wild today.
once upon a
So-
time, the Pokemon devs were too.
I don't think they ever were. Maybe like Red and Blue.
I was going to say Heart and Gold. I remember that story, but that's about it.
Heart Gold, but I mean, like,
Or not
that was
Heart
just
Gold, the
against-
original Gold Silver.
oh well, yeah, there was a wizard on the team.
A wizard, yeah, who's gone now. So
But yeah, I don't think it's fair to compare it to. I don't think any Switch game looks remotely as pretty or is as vast as Breath of the Wild. So,
but see,
while
my argument about the Breath of the Wild thing is like we're still learning stuff, and that's because they're wizards with like the physics engine. Pokemon doesn't need a physics engine. We're just talking about the graphics, which again, you are the biggest just literally hire a whole art department for Game Freak or something. Like, I don't know why. Let Game Freak focus on the actual, which, to be fair, the Pokemon company did that. They modeled every Pokemon. They animated every Pokemon in 3D before Gen 7 or 8, whatever. But, like, it could just look so much better, and that's such a big turnoff for other people, or, like, what people so quickly point to is it looks like garbage. And
it does.
yeah.
It doesn't look great.
I don't think it looks garbage, but it doesn't look like. I don't know. It looks like it was made in 2014, maybe.
2007. This was like a game I'd play on my PS2. And at the time, I'd be like, "This is pretty cool." I guess.
I just can't agree with that. I like it's
that's
not
what
that bad looking of a game. It's
It's
not a good looking game, but it's not a bad looking game.
And I have an
There are
issue with the
moments where it
shaders
does
too.
look pretty rough, but
The whatever lighting system they use, makes things dull. But my biggest thing is it turns this snow purple, pink, and literally the first couple hours I was playing, I was like, are some of these textures not loading? Because it looks exactly like the texture in Gmod when you're like you didn't get a download a file and it's like purple black checkerboard. It looks like that purple pink. And what I realized was
pink.
Yeah, but what I realized was it's just the snow in shadow. But it you get used to it, but is like I was like, is something wrong with, like, did I not, is there an update I need to get? I was genuinely confused.
Yeah.
So for me, graphically, it's pretty mid. In fact, I think Sword and Shield looks better. Not the
Sword and
wild
Shield
area.
looks better because I mean the wild area in Sword and Shield, one of the worst looking Switch games ever. And but for them to do the wild area was a lot of resources that they apparently struggled with. And so the fact that they managed the evolution of the wild area in Arceus for me is more than enough. I still don't think it's that bad looking of a game. I'm not going to defend it and say it's amazing.
But see,
it's like a GameCube type beat is
for me, I'll just never, when someone brings up like, well, they had trouble with resources, get more. But hire people. Get a third party. You're the biggest entertainment franchise. You print millions, billions of dollars. It shouldn't be an issue of resources. That's where I see it.
Is that your only issue or gripe with the game itself?
Yeah, like that's it. That's pretty much for me where the buck stops. Although I guess I'd like to see abilities in the game. They took out abilities. Kind of understand
abilities
why.
In what sense? What is that like?
Each Pokemon has like 2 abilities and a hidden ability. So like Squirtle could know what the fudge? Not Torrent. Is it Torrent?
Leer.
Charmander can no blaze, and when it's under a certain amount of HP, like your fire attacks now do more damage. Or Arcanine has Intimidate. When you send them in, it lowers their attack by 1, or something like that. They took those away, and they took EVs away, which makes sense because you don't battle that much. And I kind of like that. Instead, they added this. I don't know what they call it yet. Like a stat thing. Do you know what I'm talking about, Blue?
Yeah, there's like a different like
because you use like
there's
those
like an addition to the IV system that like changes the way things are assigned. I don't know the specifics.
Yeah, I don't know yet, but it's essentially like there's no EV training, but give these to your mons, and it's like EV training.
Yeah,
and it's pretty easy, and you can catch wild Pokemon with like better or worse. But the thing is, it seems like if you're able to get enough resources, you could max all of them. It just would take a lot of resources. But aside from that, gameplay-wise, like the gameplay loop for me, I wasn't sold on until I played it. And then, next thing you know, I spent 4 hours in the first starting area before even, like...
just messing around.
The rival is like 10 feet away. He's like, hey, just talk to me. We'll keep going. But I'm out. I was exactly like...
Well, I think that's a lot of why when you were like, oh, well, like, there's not a lot of trainer battles. I'm 8 hours in. Yeah, if we focused on the story, we'd probably have a lot more trainer battles. But that's
well, I'm
why
not saying
like
that as a bad thing either. Like, there just aren't... They're like, in the wild, you're not going to find trainers to fight. But,
yeah, but
through
I mean,
story beats... Yeah, no, I'm saying, like, that's not... I don't have an issue with that right now. It's just... If you're looking for a Pokemon game expecting a whole bunch of battles...
Have you done any story?
Yeah. I was right where Blue was when I raided him last night. I could be way farther, but it's exactly what I thought I'd be doing in an open world Pokemon game, is everything but what I was supposed to be doing. And there's like one point, that was just the beginning too. Then another point where it's like, okay, new story beat, you just got to go up here. There's like some alpha Pokemon, man, you got to fight it. And it's like, it shows you a little mark. I'm like, I'm 20 meters away. I got this. And next thing you know, I'm like, I'm 800 meters away. I was so close. How did this happen? And I just... It's great. Big? I love it. Yeah, it's pretty big. Oh, I've only been in one area too. I think there's 4 or 5 areas. And I've only been in one currently. And I'm pretty happy with the size, frankly.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the size too, and I don't get to say that often.
Hey, hi, how are you? I will say, I probably should have just done a little bit more of the story, because eventually you get your first like mount Weirdeer. We saw him in all the trailers and stuff. Wow, that would have made things so much easier.
Yeah.
Walking took a while, and granted, I think that kind of helped too, and it made it feel bigger. Yeah. Now that I'm able to just zoom, it definitely feels a little smaller. But it's not a bad thing. I spent plenty of time on my feet enough to appreciate it. But yeah, I'll have to see the other areas. Hopefully, they're all just as big. I'm a little worried that it feels like with some Pokemon games, like a lot of, and even just a lot of games in general, the beginning or like the end,
you front load it on purpose.
They either front load it or, well, most front load it, but even the end gets a little bit more love. But there's that in between that just, so like I don't want like the second and third and fourth regions to just feel like, these are like it feels like a piece of what that first area was. Because the first area so far, like, it hit. Good job. I liked it.
This is fun.
Yeah. I'm just going around. The gameplay loop for me is just sneaking up, catching Pokemon, whacking with my Pokemon, fighting them. But the thing that really draws me into is completing the Pokedex on each Pokemon.
This game really encourages you to get
catch and
like
fight
this is probably lot. Like Fruit said, like this is probably the first game where they're like, yeah, like you actually like gotta catch them all, homie.
And not just catch them all a lot. Like most of each individual Pokemon is like catch them at 25 times.
Yeah, there's like research tasks you get that give you like
Interesting.
rewards, and obviously like to level rank up and stuff. You want to make it easier, you got to do that. So
And that's my ish.
I think they really took a lot of the best elements from a lot of the games they've been messing with the wild area, with the catching sprees in Let's Go. I think they took a lot of that and just put it in this game, and it feels like really, really good.
It feels like they like Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra were an expansion of the wild area, and then Legends Arceus is like the game furtherized in like taking Crown Tundra and Iron Isle and actually making it into a game.
It really feels like the evolution of what we wanted from Crown Tundra specifically.
Yeah. And so the interesting thing too now is what part of this, like, because now, especially after this, I have a hard time thinking that a lot of this won't be in like the mainline games, like the Gen 9 game. Like, you got to think now it's going to take a lot of. Now, granted, they'll have to add, because like a typical Pokemon game people expect are like you can battle people online. There is some sort of battle progression, whether it be like totem leaders or gyms or trainers out in the wild. It's like that stuff. But honestly, just throw that in Arceus as well. And like, shoot, man. We're getting there. Suddenly it's like, wait a second.
Yeah. I think this is a great proof of concept. Because if you have a more modern Pokemon game, like a game like this in a more modern, like with some cities, some towns that you come across versus just like, you know, the best thing I can compare this to is like Monster Hunter, where you have
It really
a
is.
hub and then you have maps where you do your thing, and that's great because Monster Hunter's dope. But if you were to translate that to the settings of the mainline games, then it would be like, oh, it would be amazing. I still really love the setting of having like mostly wilderness.
Yeah.
And
And
to
I like
see this in a city in a modern setting would be amazing as well.
Have any of you guys run into like any of those ugly Pokemon that you hated?
Not yet, no. Just waiting, you know.
Okay.
In
Yeah, a
time.
lot of it is based on like Diamond and Pearl Pokemon, with a couple of sparse, you know, Pokemon from other regions as well.
And your mascots, the Eevee, Pikachu.
Yeah, the mascots, yeah.
Like some of the ones that are just instantly recognizable. People are like,
That you gotta have.
I
else
know
people
that Pokemon.
riot.
Yeah. But like one of the little things that doesn't seem very big that I really like is like the pastures. So instead of a Pokemon box, because we don't have those yet, you have a pasture in like the
They go to
home
an
hub.
actual pasture, yes.
Yeah, and then you can like walk by and actually like see your dudes chilling.
see your homies.
And it reminds me of
Oh, so they're not just sitting in like a ball and getting researched and poke and prodded?
no,
Yeah, they're like actually.
Oh, that's good.
they're just
when
getting
you go
poke and prodded
when
in
you
the
go back to the city.
open.
They're like just vibing.
And like currently what it does is I think it only pulls like X amount of things from your PC randomly. But like iterate on that. And, like I almost think of it like way back when I watched the first or like second season of the original Pokemon, like Ash would call back to Oak. And you would see Oak in his professor or whatever, and he has like a whole area where all his Pokemon gotta, like everyone Ash sent him, they would just chill out there and do their thing. Like that would be cool. Like that's something I think they should include and iterate on. People had good points too, like having a house. Like you have housing now, but even like that, if you were able to like increase your pasture space and like just have your own house and then other RPG elements to that. Because like I saw Blue do it. I didn't even think about it at first. I saw you on stream. If you just stay there, you can throw all your Pokemon out and they can sit right next to you. You can actually like chill with all your homies. And a lot of them have like really cool animations and idle things. So just like small little things, but it's the things that I don't know, make it feel more alive and connected. And it's just like, it's like that. This is a proof of concept, and I don't want that to diminish. The game's great. Like, I'm really enjoying it. But the point is, like, whatever you got here, like, keep most of it. I don't want this to be a one-off, and it's just like, well,
Please, this is so much better than the mainline games.
you have so many good things and things people have requested here. So now take them with the other
Is it
things
missing
people
anything?
want.
Like that you would like when people were like Breath of the Wild Pokemon, like, you know what I mean? Like, is it
I
missing
mean, it's definitely
anything?
not in the same vein as Breath of the Wild, right? Like Breath of the Wild is just massive and crazy, just an insane achievement. This is
But it's on the same hardware.
this is a great. I'm telling you, dude, the Zelda devs are wizards. No other dev could do what the Zelda devs did on the Switch. All right, not even CD Projekt Red
Not
could.
even Bungie.
And we know what they did with the other game. But I don't know. I think they, for what this game is, I think they did an amazing job. My complaints are extremely minor, and for this game being on a Switch, I think it's pretty good. I would have loved to have an upgraded Switch for this, and the fact that we still aren't getting one is a little sussy. But
Are you saying the OLED, or are you saying like an upgraded like
the
Pro that
actual
it was like
upgrade,
okay?
an upgraded monitor is not an upgrade.
Because, yeah, that's the thing. Is like, like, I just accept it, but I still am going to complain about it. But Pokemon's never really going to push hardware capabilities. So hopefully you bring up the average a little bit in the hardware, and
I
Pokemon
genuinely
come
think
up with
this, if they make more games like this, they could probably push hardware capability with a game like this.
well, what I'm
And
hoping
quite
too
honestly,
is
this game is pushing their hardware capabilities.
well, what I'm hoping is, since this is their first one, hopefully now they have a good base, they kind of understand, and now they can, start to polish if they
Yeah.
carry in the same vein. Because like that's the other thing too is like, yeah, like this game was in development for like a year and a half, 2 years. Imagine if it was like 4. I think that's like some of people's arguments right now is like, do we need a mainline Pokemon game every year of some degree?
Can this just be the new main line?
Like,
the whole new
and take a
generation
little more time.
with this? Oh, yeah, more time, please.
But like, how does
Whole
that
generation.
look? Because it has like all the Pokemon, so you can't do this with like Gen 1. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, where's all the Pokemon from Arceus? Like, how do you continue this game? You know what I mean?
I don't think they care about that. Evidence, Sword and Shield.
Yeah. That's probably my biggest complaint and like thing that I wish. The game only has like 220 Pokemon, 230, when there's what, 900 now or something.
I think for the world we have, 220 is pretty fine for this game.
Yeah, no,
To
like
have-
that's
Like not every Pokemon has to be native to the area, but like you see like the models, there's just so much life in the models now that they just did not have for honestly, the models have not had any life in them since we went to 3D.
Yeah.
And so seeing them now like just makes me want to see all the other Pokemon with this much life in them. So yeah, I agree that I wish we could get as many Pokemon as possible. They don't all have to be native, but it's definitely going to be a challenge for them. So,
but yeah, like that was possibly part of the argument for why there's less Pokemon. I'm fine with it. Like if you're able to actually flesh them out and feel like their own unique Pokemon, and like I like sneaking up and like they'll have their own sleep animations or happy animations or idle animations or the way they battle, like that's just it. It's like we're slowly like this game specifically is finally turning some certain things we finally wanted.
gears are moving.
And so it's like let's keep this going. Where's this?
Let's go.
So now it's a matter of, okay, we see you. You finally, like, I gotta give them props. They iterated. I like what they've done. So now,
love what they've done.
Don't mess it up. Like, keep going. Like the last thing I want them to do is just drop it. Like, all right, well, that was a fun thing. On to Sword and Shield 2.
Have they done fun side Pokemon games like this and then never done anything again with it?
all the time.
They've
Well, not Game Freak
mechanic-wise-
specifically.
Yeah, mechanic wise, they'll drop a lot of things. Let's Go. That just kind of never got talked about again.
Yeah, which is like, I'll say it, I probably would have preferred like Let's Go Diamond and Pearl over
Yep.
like the Diamond and Pearl we ended up getting.
Yep.
Like Let's Go is such, like, I don't think people truly appreciate it too when you look back, like the perfect way to bring back such a retro game. But bring it into the new. Like, granted, still my gripes with Let's Go are like the main mechanics, like, you know, instead of like fighting Pokemon, you're just catching blah blah. The little nuances, but as a whole, like, that's just why it's like, it's so weird. Like, at some points, you'll see something in Pokemon, you're like, oh shoot, that's a step forward, and then a year later, like, wait, we're going back. No, it's like, just so with Legends Arceus, you got something good. I love it. Let's keep it going. So it'll be really interesting if they do show off Gen 9 or whatever this year, their other team. Like, I think that's part of my worry, is that these two teams have been working completely parallel. Like, they haven't been interacting. They've just been doing their own things. And so, yeah, worried Gen 9 just won't take much from this, which I don't know, maybe that's a good thing too. We'll see what they can do, but like, straight up, like, this is like,
this is what I want. I don't want
this wilderness to be what routes look like, or like when I want to go and find Pokemon like this.
Yep.
So if they
Feels
did this
natural.
with Gen 9, like, what would that look like though? You know what I mean?
Like
Like,
this, I
what would a
mean-
mainline Gen 9 game? Could you make it exactly like Arceus, or like would you have
easily
to
make it
like
the fact that
gym
the
leaders and stuff like that? Like,
yeah, I mean, there's no reason why you can't. Instead of wilderness, like, each town has a route where, you know, it's just a free roam route, like, and you have a bunch of things to do, and I
Like-
think they have so, like, this is such a. There's nothing in this game that I think, wow, that would be hard for them to do in a main line. Like, not at all.
Like, I'm going to oversimplify it because obviously it isn't as simple. But literally, if you want to take this to a mainline game, let's say that first area we're in, make like the starting area before like the top of the hill, like Route 1. And then pretend on top of the hill, like, just here's a city. And then you keep going, and it's essentially a normal giant Pokemon map you'd have, but it's seamless. Granted, like, if they need loading points or, you know, transition, whatever. But it's all connected. The routes themselves are like this. They don't have to be like this. The whole point of this is supposed to be, it's like before humans have really done anything to the land. But just like that, like, instead of, like in Sword and Shield, the routes look great, but the problem was they're still very linear. So, like, open it up a little bit, throw trainers in there, or like things you can interact with, and then keep the routes like this.
you're not saying it has to be like Skyrim. Like, it can kind of just
but then put your normal towns in, and then in the towns you'll find the gyms or whatever. Like, literally, it would just be a matter of putting the maps together and putting some towns in between. Put some gyms, like an Elite Four, or whatever they'd want to iterate on.
A route though, you could almost just have a giant map with towns.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah,
You know,
and then you just kind of find your way. And then I'm gonna get a little too ahead of myself,
like,
but
you
it'd
go
be
to the
cool if
town
there
that's
was
like level 70 or something like
Well,
that.
see, I was gonna say maybe some dynamic leveling, but that's probably asking too much. Because then, like,
let's not get ahead of ourselves.
yeah, I was like, then you
One
could
step at a
literally,
time, Mr. Fruit.
yeah. That's why I'm like, that's
Game Freak's like, hey, I'm gonna
Watch it,
take this
bud.
away from you.
well, because that's like, like 2 hours into the game. Of course, I'm going everywhere I can't. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna go this way, and I found some red-eyed alpha-looking Snorlax. Like, ooh, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. So I went anyway. And then I ran past him, and then I saw like a Luxray, and I'm like, oh, okay. My Pokemon like level 10. I'm like, I'm definitely not supposed to be here. So then I tried to catch it, and then I got mad, and it chased me, and I ran away. But like, that's an easy way too to just be like, Hey, you should probably go
catch
back.
Scythers. When I watched you stream, you were catching like
Scyther!
you were trying to bait a Scyther, and then you caught one.
Yeah. Well, they're just both being bots, both being annoying. Because like, I just try and catch them without battling them. I always just, but like,
Same.
yeah. But then sometimes I'm fighting one. I'm like, wait, I could still just
Yeah, I could
weaken
fight
it
it
and
if I
catch it.
want.
Yeah. And so Scyther kept. I wanted to surprise it because I wanted to use a heavy ball.
It's so satisfying to get the heavy ball back catches.
And it's pew! I'm like, yeah.
You're mine, bitch.
And then they break out, and I'm like, well, I'll come back. Nice knowing you.
Are there shinies in the game, or
There
like?
are.
Yes.
Have you guys ran into any yet?
No.
I have one.
Blue has one. I have not.
Oh.
And it looks like the shiny hunting is pretty doable post game. So I kind of have to wait to get there. But like the odds, there's these things called like mass outbreaks. I haven't encountered any yet. But if you do that and then you complete the deck, so you have the shiny charm, and then the specific Pokemon you're hunting, if you have like their Pokedex entry complete, blah blah blah, you can get it down to like 1 out of 128. Is
Dang.
really good shiny odds. Yeah, instead of 1 out of 4,000 something. But that's kind of going to be post game. I'm nowhere near there. So
All right. Well, I'm glad you guys are having fun.
I am, and like that's just thing too. Is like I just go around catching mons over and over again. I don't know, like it's so simple and it looks really simple, but sometimes that's okay because it's just fun to do.
It's just so fun.
And that's like some like I'll admit like that's just something that didn't come across in the trailers to me. It was one of those things not until I did it myself where I was like, oh, I could see myself doing this a lot.
Almost as fun as competitive Pokemon VGC.
Almost.
Oh, way
Almost.
more fun. What do you mean?
I think he's trying to segue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Speaking of really fun competitive Pokemon, Mr. Fruit, you partook in an invitational tournament.
I
Did a lot better
did.
than I
Yeah.
think anybody thought.
You beat the shit out of
Certainly
Small
myself.
a little loser.
Small, love you. Yeah, there was 16 people. If you guys know this guy, Pokemon Challenges. If you want someone that's not Papega at Nuzlocke, go watch him. He only does hardcore Nuzlocke too.
You don't do hardcore Nuzlocks?
I've been doing my first on stream, but like the ones he does, it's like you got spreadsheets, you're calcing, you have to prepare for everything. You like, which is fine, but like that's like YouTube content. Nobody wants to watch that.
Yeah.
Like he looks down upon randomized Nuzlocke, and I'm like, I love randomized Nuzlocke. But so he held an invitational for a whole bunch of people, almost all somewhat Pokemon creators, except for like I don't know, that Tier Zoo guy,
Tier Zoo.
It didn't seem like he's ever done Pokemon.
No, he's never done Pokemon. He makes like animal tier lists.
Yeah,
it's sick.
Like Ludwig was in there, but I guess Ludwig is streamed occasional.
Yes, he's done like a Nuzlocke, yeah.
But there's like Ludwig, Nuzlocke, Wolfie, who's an actual VGC world champion.
By the way.
And a whole bunch of other people. That was really cool. And so he held it on Pokemon Showdown on his like own server, and we played random battles. So you'd have your matches, double elimination, best of 3. You did like a banning phase before. Each person got to ban 2 gens. My ban literally every time was Gen 8 and Gen 7. Because I was like, I know the least about these gens.
Very good strategy, Mr. Fruit.
That was my idea. Especially a lot of the way like just some of the new gameplay engine stuff works. It's like just really minute stuff, but like crits. I didn't even realize this. Starting like Gen 6, I think. Crits are only 1.5, not 2.
Yep.
I just learned that. And there's just like a whole bunch of this stuff that, you know, through like
Little
Gen 3,
nuances.
4, 5, yeah, that like
Small things that change from gen to gen.
yeah, that they're just like
You're like, Gen 1 doesn't have special attack? You're like, what?
well,
Like,
yeah, well, I remember that, and then I was like, I kind of remember that, yeah, and I was like, oh, geez, they don't have abilities. So point is, double elimination. I ended up going 2-2 and getting top 6, which for me, I don't think
That's
people
a W.
Yeah, I don't think people understand when I say like I've never done a Pokemon battle. The cage lock I did with Joey are like the only Pokemon battles I've ever done with someone. I never had internet that worked with my DS, and then before that, when I was around my friends, we just caught things and like
It's just different.
It was very casual. We'd like link and trade, and I think I battled like once, and it was Crystal, and we just had like our. Like, I'm like Dragonite Hyper Beam. Like you had no idea what you're doing.
It's just different.
Yeah, and now it's a different breed. So they're randomized, but also randomized to have competitive sets, move sets, items, and on top of that, in competitive Pokemon are put into tiers. Like I can't remember all the tiers, but like OU would be like overused. Like you would be underused, and you have all these kind of things where it's like essentially how good a Pokemon is if it were to battle competitively, and then it randomized those levels. So like Mewtwo was like level 7 or like 67, but if I had like Golduck, he'd be 88 because he like never sees play. So it kind of balanced out that way, and I ended up winning 2. Lost the first one pretty close. And then I was fighting Smollett in the losers bracket round 2. I was like, oh, right, well, GG.
Quick go-to.
Yeah, I was like, all right, well, I guess I got time for the gym today, so that's fine. And then, what was it? First game, I think I like won the toss. I chose Gen 5. I think my Lugia like swept him. He didn't really have an answer, because that's kind of the part of the randoms too, is like if they have one good Mon and you don't have any counters,
the whole team.
Yeah, like that's because it was singles battles too. So I just kind of like set up a Lugia without knowing what he had either. So I didn't realize at the time, but he didn't have anything for it. So Lugia swept. And then Smollett, this is when like I was like, oh my God. He's like, okay, we're going to Gen 1. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but like, sure. And I didn't realize he was doing this very specifically. Because he knew Gen 1 like mechanics, how they used to work. And for me, I get in, I'm like,
I mean,
wait.
Gen 1 is what, like 2000? Like
no, 1996?
Yeah, earlier than that.
7? Yeah. So
when
I
the
get
game
in.
came out on the Game Boy Advance? Really?
Mhm. I think it was
Damn.
96 Japan.
It's so old, it wasn't a Game Boy Advanced. It was just a Game Boy.
Yeah,
That's
like
That's
the
Boy
crazy.
Color.
So he goes to Gen 1. I'm like, none of my Pokemon have abilities. And then I'm looking too. There's no physical special split. It's just you have attack, you have defense.
Yeah.
I think you have speed. And like that's pretty much it.
And speed in those gens influence crit rate too. So it's like
Yeah, and it's just like it's really simple, but at the same time it's not. And then turns out he has a Dragonite. Pulls that out. And like the funny thing too is competitive movesets at the time for Gen 1 apparently are just like all the same moves. Because it didn't matter what Pokemon I had, they had just like the same moves. Everyone had Hyper Beam. And I figured out why. He tried to Hyper Beam something that like swapped. I'm like, haha, I survived. I had to like sack him on to get into somebody. And then he had to recharge. So then I send somebody out. And then he Hyper Beams. I'm like, okay, this isn't... He like kills them on, but I'm like, perfect. This gives me time. Somebody knew like Blizzard. I'm like, I'm going to ×4 Dragonite. I'd already killed like half of his team. I'm like, we're looking good. Well, his Dragonite uses Hyper Beam, kills him. I'm like, okay, swap in the guy. Go to Blizzard. His Dragonite goes first. Huh? Uses Hyper Beam. Huh? I die again. Huh? I'm like, what? Hyper Beam. You have to recharge. Apparently not if you get a KO in Gen 1. I didn't know this. So Smolland's strategy was he was taking everyone to Gen 1, getting the strongest Hyper Beamer, and just one-shotting everything. Because apparently in that gen, you kill someone with Hyper Beam, you don't have to recharge. So I was like, Jesus. Took a fat L there.
Yeah.
Then we go to Gen 6, I think, for the last game. It's looking terrible.
I left because I couldn't watch it anymore.
Like,
I was like...
His team was just beaters, and mine were very mid. And I think at one point it got down to I had 2 Pokemon. One was like 10 health, and he had like 5 left. And the one currently out at the time was, I want to say, it's Charizard, I think. So, whatever I send in just gets pooped on. I'm like, well, that's it. I send in a Jirachi, is my last Pokemon, with like 40 health.
Oh, yep.
I send in Jirachi, like 40 health. And looking down the whole team like that, it's over. I think I just gotten his Charizard or something. I think he died to Flare Blitz or something. Like he had to do something, or he might have been life orbed. Doesn't matter. It comes down to Jirachi and like 3 or 4 of his mons. Sends out Mewtwo. Like, geez, like what is this dude's team? So I'm like, well, all right, like it's been real, I guess.
Might as well just go for it.
But big brain me, I sacked a Masquerain earlier to set up Sticky Web. What's Sticky Web?
No! Don't you see? Yeah, oh man, poor guy's about to get paraflinched to oblivion.
So he's like, what's Sticky Web? Well, there are certain things in the game like Stealth Rocks, Spikes, Toxic Spikes, Sticky Web, where you put them in and it's a hazard. And anytime someone sends a Pokemon into those, whatever that thing is, it then affects them. Well, Sticky Web, if they send in a Pokemon that's not flying, it reduces their speed by 1 level. Which doesn't seem like much, but that's like a 33% reduction in speed.
Yeah.
So they send it in. And Jirachi notably has like 100 base stat for everything across the board. So just good, essentially. So with 100 base speed, a -1 speed mon coming in, 9 times out of 10, maybe 100 times out of 10. 10 out of 10, I'm going to be outspeeding it. So I have Jirachi. I have Wish. I have Ironhead. And I have 2 other things I don't think I ever touched. More notably, my Jirachi had the ability Serene Grace.
Yep.
Which, if you know what I'm talking about, Serene Grace is an ability which gives moves with a secondary effect double the chance to happen. Which is important. Because Ironhead is a move that does damage. It's stab for me, which is nice. But it has a 30% chance to flinch the opponent if I hit them first.
Oh my gosh.
Well, with Serene Grace, that's now 60% chance. I proceed to flinch him, I think, 5 times in a row. His Mewtwo's dead. And then in between that, I even get like a wish off because he has to recover his Mewtwo. And then it got to the point where his Mewtwo couldn't even really kill me. So I fully healed, killed his Mewtwo. And then he had like 2 or 3 other mons. And when I'm telling you that 90% of the moves from there on out was just me flinching him with Ironhead, I mean it. Because Sticky Web stayed the whole time, so he was never faster. Whatever he sent in, it didn't matter how much damage I did. I would just hit them. They would flinch, and I would slowly kill them. And I won.
Edge pain.
Yeah, I won.
Yeah, his voice was so defeated afterwards.
Yeah, Smollett's like GG, dude, I guess. Like, you better win the whole tournament now. And then he just left. I'm like, I felt terrible, but also, like, you have to, like, it was also hilarious. Because, like, looking back to it, his VOD I'd watched, like, even me, his people as well, like, this is over. It's so easy. Like, Jirachi comes down, like, dude, whatever. Like, all right, game's over. And then you slowly see his descent into sadness and pain and acceptance. And then he loses. I felt so bad. But also it's hilarious. And then it went on. I won another best of 3 and then ended up losing game 3.
Was that the longest game of Pokemon VGC you had ever played? That game 3?
So that happened. It was just kind of funny. 3rd game. What was it? Was it Tearzu? I think it was Tearzu.
Yeah, Tearzu, yeah.
I didn't know who he was, and now I'm not going to watch his videos. Nice.
He makes banger videos. I love his videos, actually.
Here's the thing, what I'm about to tell you. I don't necessarily blame him. But I 100% in his shoes would not have done it. Because he was playing to win. But the important thing to note is this is a charity tournament. Like, there's nothing at stake. If you win, you get to decide where $5,000 go to a charity of your choice. Like, that's it. So it's for fun. It's just like a show tournament.
Yeah.
We're here to have fun, good time, and it's a randoms tournament, so it's like whatever. Well, yeah, I had probably, I might have hit a world record. Who really knows?
Well, I know it got to like turn 50, right? Or something like that.
Beyond
Oh
that.
my god!
It was like turn 70 or something. So what ended up happening? We're going back and forth, blah blah blah. I eventually sent the Hydreigon in, and at the time, I didn't know this, but he had no counter for my Hydreigon. So if he wasn't able to do something, my Hydreigon would just sweep. So he sends out Gliscor. And there's a sandstorm going. And I think in the gen we were playing or whatever, I think the sand from abilities stayed forever. And he had somebody that set it up or something. So sand was there forever. He turn 1 protects, probably to scout. I'm like, okay. Then turn 2, he substitutes. I'm like, okay. I break his substitute. But it's also important to note he has yes, Rob.
Okay, substitute has been a move since Pokemon Stadium 1. Like and it's a move I never used because I just spam fire.
Of
or
course,
attack.
yeah. Me attack, me go face.
Fly,
right.
dig, the fun ones.
The great ones, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you asked, Rob.
Hits.
What does substitute do? I just know it brings in a little dude,
little
dinosaur
doll,
guy.
yeah. So substitute, if you don't know, you reduce your health by 25%, and in doing so, you put in a substitute, a doll. And this doll stays there unless you switch or it's broken. And the way the doll is broken is you do 25% of their health or more in a single attack. It breaks the substitute. The Pokemon comes back. So the idea is sometimes you can kind of set up, get a substitute in, and if they can't break it in one hit, you're good. Or the other problem too is like, well, I could one-shot this dude. But now I'm going to have to take another turn because I have to break the substitute first. So he substitutes. I'm like, okay, whatever. I break it. And then he protects. And it's important to note he has Toxic Heal, I think, as his ability with Toxic Orb. Yeah. So what that does is it poisons him, but with his ability, instead of poison hurting him, it heals him, which also means he can no longer have any other status conditions. So he's healing every turn for about 12.5%, which is half of the substitute. And so he would protect, heal 12, substitute, go down, heal 12, so substitute didn't do anything. And then it was protect, substitute, protect, substitute, protect, substitute. You see where this is going. Protect, substitute, protect.
And what does protect do? You just don't take any damage? Or
yeah, for that turn, negate all damage. There are very few attacks that go through protect.
So what are the point of these attacks? Like, what are, like...
So,
stall.
As I come to find out, I'm like, what is he doing? Like, let's just get this game over with. He realizes he doesn't have something for my Hydreigon. So I'm like, wait a second. He's trying to PP stall me. Because he knows my Hydreigon had like Dark Aura. Just a good dark attack. Stab. It was going to run through his team.
Dab.
A stab. It's
oh, I thought you were
same
saying, like,
type.
Dabbed on.
Yeah, that's okay.
Both probably.
Yeah, that too. So I'm like 10 PP deep or something. I have like 10 left or something. I'm like, wait.
A lot of PP deep, Mr. Fruit.
Yeah, I was like, what is he trying to do? He's trying to PP stall me. So what came after that, I can only describe as the most boring match of Pokemon you will ever see.
That you've ever played? Have you?
Certainly, I've ever played. It was just a mix of swapping Mons in. I kept trying to swap my Dialga in and read him. That was the most interesting part of the entire fight because it had pressure. So if I was able to switch on him doing Protector Substitute, he'd lose one more PP. Because I'm like, okay, well now I just have to wait for him to run out of Protect and Substitutes.
But you were kind of soft throwing because you were wanting to lose at that point, I think.
So yeah, after about 30 minutes of this, it's still going. I'm like, I don't care anymore. Like I'm about to just forfeit. Like this, I don't want to win anymore. Like I'm not having fun.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, like, this isn't like we're not in an actual tourney. Like what does this matter? No, you can't be having fun. I'm not having fun. No one watching is having fun. And so then the only reason I stuck in was stubbornness. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to let him have the satisfaction of winning using this. So I do win. But that match was about one round was about an hour. And after that,
crazy.
like we won. And he was like I didn't have fun either, but like it was the only thing I saw. So yeah, I understand why you did it, but again, if I'm on the other side,
should you have done it?
yeah, like I'm on the other side, I'm gonna be like, darn, I guess I lose the Hydreigon. Let's get this over with. So like I appreciate it, and he saw his win condition, blah blah blah, but like, goodness gracious, man. So I ended up beating him, going to the next match, and it was so delayed. My opponent has just been sitting there watching because everyone has been waiting, and he's like, dude, I saw that. That's rough. And I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm gonna be honest. At this point, I don't care what happens. Let's just have some fast matches, or like, let's just play Pokemon, please.
And they were fast.
They were. We went to game 3. I think I missed a Stone Edge, I think, on his Zapdos like swap in or something, game 3. And I think that sealed the deal. And then from there, I just couldn't win. And it was like the start of the game too. So a little unlucky, but literally the whole point of a random tournament, there's only so much skill. Like a lot of it's RNG. So I lost, but thank God, all 3 matches took like 15, 20 minutes. So I'm like, deuces. But yeah, that just like killed me inside.
The morale destroyer.
I hope you do another one of those. That was fun to watch, though. That like program you use is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was Pokemon Showdown, but like that was the thing. He lost, Tirzu lost, but I lost too. Like nobody was winning that match. So yeah, I came out and I was just like, let's just.
Yeah,
I don't want to be here. Like, win or lose, like let's just play Pokemon, and we did.
Yeah, that was easily like the most defeated, triggered, and like like every kind of emotion I've seen you have on stream.
People would keep coming back, like you're still. This is the same. You're still going, and I'm like, dude, don't tell me. Like I'm in the midst of it, bro. Okay, I know. And eventually, here's the kicker too. I think he was getting so much hate, he stopped. But he still had like 6 PP of substitute and protect left. It could have kept going, man. I was like,
but like, why is that a thing? Can every Pokemon do that then? Like, is that why that Pokemon is even in like?
Not. Well, I guess that specific Gliscor most of the time is there for that reason. But typically, what happens, one is you don't have to worry about PP stall. But the thing about protect is if you use it twice in a row. It goes from 100% chance to happen to like 33% chance. And if you use it 3 times in a row, like it's never going to work. But so he was just cycling it with substitute, so protect was always working. And then I didn't have anything that went through substitute. Like there are certain Pokemon abilities. I even had a Huntail. I was like, oh shoot. Maybe it has Infiltrator because it's an ability that'll like go through substitute. Of course it didn't. But I had nothing to go through substitute. So there are ways to get around it, kind of. But if somebody does that, it's just kind of like a why?
I just never understood those little nuances, like those like attacks, like Leer or like Sword Dance or
Sword Dance is really
like,
good.
Well, there's very few like status moves like that
that are used competitively.
Useful. Yeah. Most of them are just like Leer, like Growl, like those are useless. But you got like Swords Dance, which is powerful. Substitute, which is just the stall master. Like Protect is everywhere in VGC. So like,
almost every
I hate
has
substitute.
We all do. Don't worry. I was gonna say like Leer and Growl and stuff. I've learned have a place, but in hardcore Nuzlocks. But that's about it. But as far as competitive, Blue is right. Like Swords Dance. Typically, you're only going to see status moves like Dragon Dance, which usually they either increase multiple stats or double or triple a stat. So like Swords Dance will raise your attack twice, which essentially means with +2 attack, I believe that means you're doing 200% damage. You're essentially doubling. And then if you're +3 attack, that's 2.5. Or like if you minus somebody's accuracy, that brings them down to 66% accuracy immediately. And then it's diminishing returns. But so like, it's a lot of stuff you don't realize at first. But if somebody can get a stat change off unpunished, it's really bad. Because at that point, like, that's what you kind of have to worry about is like, oh, this dude is setting up like Dragon Dance, and I can't stop him, or like I used my turn to switch in, and now his Garchomp is 1.5 attack speed. I think is that only Dragon Dance? Doesn't matter. It's something else. But so, and then that's when you get what they call sweepers, where it's like the Lugia. It's like, well, guess I die now, because they usually are just raw power. So they all have their place. It's definitely more nuanced. Because I was with you, Rob, up until I did my first Nuzlocke, like, I don't know, 4 years ago, whatever, on my channel, that Heart Gold. I was like, me go face, you know?
Yeah, fly dig.
I'd learn a move, and I'm like, does this do damage? No, I don't need it.
I just wish it was like Yu-Gi-Oh! And like we attacked the trainer, you know? That was like the only thing I I was like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Got it right. Like when you take damage, it's because like the fucking monster's punching you in the fucking face. Like I was
just a dick punch.
Yeah, I thought that was really sick.
Charizard. Seismic toss the trainer.
Charizard, seismic dick punch.
Every time. You know, I knew that was coming.
Is there anything we want to touch on else before I switch to Patreon questions?
If you think of something, let me know. I'm gonna pee real quick.
Watch Peacemaker.
Peacemaker.
Yeah, Peacemaker.
Very, very, very pog. Rob is correct.
Yeah, it's very fun. Let me see. I'm trying to find out where I stopped last time. Okay, found it. Okay. So we have a question from Z-Dog. Says, hey guys, hope you're all doing well. With Legends Arceus coming out this month and Gen 9 potentially on the horizon, what type would you like to see next? Pasuito Legendary? I don't know what that means. Dragapult was a banger, but Dragon is starting to get overdone. I'd love to see a Steel Fairy or something like that.
Oh, a pseudo legendary.
Oh, pseudo.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, part of the reason I like the pseudos is because they are like draconic. I will say it would definitely be nice to have like another pseudo like Metagross. I don't really want to see like if it's a fairy, it should be like a different take on a fairy, like a evil fairy or some shit.
Okay.
But like they kind of already did that with, isn't Hoopa a fairy?
Yeah, I think Hoopa is a fairy, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of trust their pseudo legendaries. There hasn't been a pseudo legendary that they haven't had that hasn't been a banger yet. So you know, I'm just gonna let the masters do their work.
Yeah, I don't know. Goo Boy says, howdy everyone. What is your fondest memory of Pokemon? It's a Pokemon episode. And how did your favorite mons become your favorites? P.S. My friend and I love the Dream Team Advanced GG flavor. Keep that shit up. I like it too. It is genuinely like actually my favorite. And
still
I like
my
that,
favorite.
and it's actually like the energy one that like truly has like natural caffeine in it and stuff. So it will give you like energy if you are looking for it. Like I love that. My fondest Pokemon memory is actually like the cards. Like when I was a kid, my dad would take us every payday. My dad would take us to the Pokemon shop, we called it, but it was just like a local comic book card wizard kind of place. And he would let us buy one card that was in the display thing. And I bought this. I believe it was a Dark Alakazam. I think that was the card. Let me see. Dark Alakazam first edition. Yep, that was it. I got a Dark Alakazam first edition. And that was like my favorite card ever. And like I didn't take care of it. Like I took it. It was in my pocket. Like that thing came everywhere with me. So that is my fondest Pokemon memory.
Fondest Pokemon memory or card?
Yeah. It says like favorite fondest Pokemon memory.
Probably my world champion run and trading cards. But then pretty much all my favorite memories come from just friends I made or any of the events, certain runs I had. Good time.
Ironically, probably when I played through Sword and Shield, I just had a lot of fun with that game. Even if it wasn't like amazing, I had just incredible time with that game. As far as fondest, I don't know, probably like
That or the Soul Link with Blue.
the Soul Link. I was about to say probably one of my favorite, the most fun I've ever had playing Pokemon. So,
While simultaneously being judged ruthlessly.
well, but it was so fun that I was like, I could deal with the judgment.
That's kind of the part of the fun, you know. What are people going to make fun of or judge me for this time?
So Noah is a gamer. Says I think we've had this question kind of a ton. We can just kind of touch on it. If content creation didn't exist, what would be your career choice?
Graphic design.
I don't know, some sort of. I went to like it was gonna be like sports, like media type of stuff. So maybe something like that, some sort of sports media.
I wanted to do film and direct, but realistically, yeah, I'd probably be the graphic designer too.
Sir Harmonic says, I have decided to start the path of learning graphic design. Wow. Okay.
Oh, welcome.
But
Hey,
knowing
I
Blue
know.
and Fruit have different experiences with this area, do you think I should spend the money for school or should I be able to learn through other sources? Parentheses, and y'all have a great day. Love you, beautiful dudes.
I never went to school for it, so that's up to Blue.
On one hand, right, like school's very important for resume. On the other hand, like I don't think you need school to be a good graphic designer. I don't think you need school for most things to be good at them. If you are really interested in learning it, you can learn it on your own. That being said, most places will be looking for that piece of paper.
I can make deadlines.
Yeah, people are going to be looking for that piece of paper that says, "Hey, you passed school," and this piece of paper says, "Yes, I am graphic design."
Me, graphic designer.
Me.
I can work under crunch times and stress.
I mean, not even that. It's just like the piece of paper literally says, "I graduated. You can hire me."
I paid money for this.
Yeah, I paid money for this. Hire me. So most places will look for that. If you're good enough, I think most graphic designers are not going to be terribly like most places aren't going to be terribly like, "Oh, you didn't graduate? Wow, looks like your badge." But like if your work will usually speak for itself. So if you're confident in what you can do, then you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't have experience looking for a job, especially these days either. So I don't know what exactly they're looking for. I would think that in such a line, it might be a little easier because it could simply just be here's a body of work or here's freelance work I've done. But again, it also depends on where you're applying. If it's more old school, they'll probably like to see that piece of paper. But I imagine if you could kind of find some newer graphic design firms or studios, or like you could technically, I guess, just be a specific graphic designer for like a certain company. But it just depends on what you want to do. But I learned everything on my own time because if you like it, you'll be your best teacher. It's the easiest. Because with all the kind of like practical arts like stuff, there are just things they can't teach at college. Like just things that can or cannot come naturally to some people, but what they can teach you are some certain things, like things they've come across in their field and how they deal with it, or some common problems you'll see. Or probably for me, the biggest thing would be like how to deal with customers and not just hate them. The biggest thing for any college, ideally, is the networking you get out of it, people you know or get to know.
I hate networking. The worst.
But like, if you're like, I just want to know how to graphic design, that's something you can teach yourself. And even if you go into school, I would say come in with some background, get familiar with some program, because all that's super easy. It's tutorials. It's just some shortcuts or knowing where to look, some tutorials. So,
Trey Bourne says, have either of you guys watched through Bleach? And if so, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm not.
No, I've never watched it. Definitely on those ones you always hear about type of animes.
I like Bleach.
Yeah.
I like Bleach. It just never felt like the show knew where it wanted to go. It always felt like it was just going nowhere. So I just lost interest in it over time. There's a couple of like hitter arcs every now and again, but like with Naruto, right? Like the show's end game was, oh, Sasuke versus Naruto. We got to save the ninja world from Madara, and like even if it like sometimes stumbled in getting there, like you still knew, okay, like this is the end game. Whereas Bleach, it was always like, yeah, I have no clue where this is supposed to go, so getting kind of bored.
Oh, so that was a bad thing for you. You like to kind of know where it's headed,
I like to know that there is an end point,
and what
Bleach
matters
just
and
never
doesn't.
felt like, whereas Bleach, it just felt like there was never like, all right, when is the series gonna end? We don't fucking know. Like,
we'll let you know when we get there.
Even One Piece is like, yeah, we got to find the One Piece.
True. Bleach is like, we got to find Bleach.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, we got to like do things. What are we doing?
This series is in one way or another.
Yeah.
Go Sohada asked, question for Fruit and Blue. Has a Pokemon died in any of your Nuzlocks when you're doing them off camera or training kind of stuff?
That's classified.
We're not allowed to say.
It's true.
Oh, okay.
I
Estra
would never.
Says, question of for the three of y'all. With the tease of Bungie of upcoming changes to Gambit, what were y'all's original expectations of Gambit, and what was it going to be? Yeah, okay. I mean, I played it at like an event, I think, for like a capture event, and I thought it was like a fun activity. But like, I always said, like, when I saw people waiting in line for 2 hours for it, I felt so bad. Like, I was like, I'm not gonna tell them that like it's a cool experience, but like it's not something that I would ever wait 2 hours in line for. At that, like, I get like the excitement for it and stuff. Like, but like, I hope they were probably disappointed from it, honestly.
What were they wanting to know about Gambit though?
What were they like our original expectations of it?
Oh, I'll be honest, mine were immediately kind of meh, because I went to a Bungie summit or whatever before this Forsaken, before E3, where they're like, we did some stuff, and then they're like, hey, we have this thing. I don't even think we were able to capture it, but they're like, we're just going to show it to you. This is all under wraps. It's this brand new PvEVP mode. That's all they said before we played, and I'm like, whoa, that sounds sick. I'm like, wait, so it's PV and it's PvP.
You're thinking like Division 2 or something like.
Well, I was thinking that, or even like Halo Warzone. Something. The last thing I thought was the PvP is not really there at all. You just invade every now and then. Because I was thinking like, oh shoot, we're all in the same place, whatever it is, and then we're fighting both each other and the AI. I mean, I think what they did with it was fine, but I just wasn't what I was looking for, I guess. And so I wish they just hadn't said that to me, and then maybe I would have won it. But like, Gambit's really PvE. It's PvE racing, more or less.
Well, I mean, I would like it if it were PvE racing.
But I'd say it's closer to that than it does have its PvP moments, but I don't know.
For
like
me,
that PvP is literally the last, like the forethought of that mode.
I gotta say, it's true that the PvP is the fourth thought. It's just so like, I don't know. The invasions in Gambit are not fun, and they kind of like make the game less fun. Yeah, the PvP is not fun for anyone in Gambit. It used to be like, I'm invading. Wow, the adrenaline's pumping. But now it's just like, great. This guy's gonna invade us, and now we
And
have to do
what ridiculous power weapon thing does he have that's just gonna destroy
what
me before I
stupid
even?
thing do they have? And the PvE side is like, it's fun for a bit, and then you get to the boss, and it's like, oh, the other team just insta-gibbed the boss because they like debuffed it with like the super dick munch 8000 build.
It's a favorite. Yeah,
They just, I don't know.
I was never huge on it when it first came out. I was kind of like, but I'm gonna be honest. I think even the first day, after like a couple matches, I don't know how much. For me, it just didn't have much longevity. It was a cool game mode, but
yeah,
for me, it was a more novel. Like, oh, I'll play a couple here, and then Gambit Prime came out. I was like, ooh, this is kind of novel. I'll play 4 games ever. That was kind of. And then they're like, hey, if you want the malfeasance, play way more Gambit than you'd ever want. I'm like, ah.
Okay. Ricardo the Heart says, hey boys, what would you say your love language is?
I am a giver.
Yeah, I would say giver as well. Or like affirmation, I think that's one. Like you like when people like give you compliments or something like that.
I'm definitely affirmation.
Wait,
I will.
Are you saying for Rob? Are you saying your affirmation or your giver? Is that what you're saying?
No, so like I'm saying when like somebody like gives me compliments and stuff like that makes me like feel good.
Oh, that's
like
not
that.
giver.
I am
Oh no, but I'm changing it to affirmation.
Oh, that's what I was confused about. Oh, okay. I was like,
I was changing.
I got it.
Yeah, I'm definitely a affirmation type dude. I will. Yeah, I really want to encourage.
Green Pete says, greetings, gentlemen. How do you relax after a hard, stressful day of work? Excluding Fruit from this question because from what I've heard, I believe he stops working. Oh, he doesn't stop working. Love you all. Thanks for everything.
Good question.
Watching sports.
I'm gonna miss football.
Me too. Best weekend of football ever last weekend?
Even though all the outcomes weren't what I wanted, it didn't matter. Like, especially if you were a neutral fan, that had to be.
If you were just an NFL fan.
Yeah, that had to be. Like, literally every single conference game came down to a last-minute field goal, essentially.
Yeah, or like a game-winning drive.
Right. It was literally I think 3 games were a field goal within the 4 seconds. And then the Bills, Chiefs were...
and then a field goal to tie it to send it into overtime.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. It was great. But on the weekends, I guess, or like Sundays, I like to do that. Just kind of zone out. I try and go to the gym sometimes, but then also, if I don't get a good workout or like I don't have much motivation, it usually upsets me more then, because then I leave and I'm like, well, I didn't do much. So it's like a 50-50.
What about you, Blue?
Yes.
Okay.
He plays FF14.
I got so lost.
What do you like to do after like a long day?
I was thinking about the
work?
love language question, Lamau. Okay, one more time. Sorry.
What do you like to do after a long day of work? Like, what do you do to relax?
Honestly, possibly unhealthy, but like I just like to like sit like in a quiet room and just like browse YouTube or something. Just watch something random and like just sit there, maybe get like a nice cup of something, tea, juice or something, and just like not do anything for like half an hour.
Yeah, I'll do that too. Like just zone out. Usually like lie in bed and just like scroll Reddit.
Yeah, just somewhere quiet.
AntiWork.
No, somewhere where like there's no one. It's just me, and I'm just like sipping on something and watching something that'll make my brain turn off for half an hour.
We'll do last question here from Oko because we'll catch up on the next ones here.
Fucking Oko.
Oko asks, "Who is your favorite sports figure currently?" I'd probably say like Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, I knew someone was gonna say
that. My favorite sports figure currently. I'd probably say Derek White. Derek White is the man. Does a lot of good stuff for the San Antonio community. And
no bias at all.
Yeah, no bias there.
I don't really think
or
I
Tom
have
Brady,
one.
you know, like
I hate him, but God, he's the GOAT, man. Yeah, I don't really think I have one. I know I've never really held sports people.
Sport figures to a high degree.
Like even with Aaron Rodgers, it was just like he's good and fun to watch.
It wasn't like you.
That's
like,
it. No.
Yeah, like I idolized Tom Brady. Like
yeah, I don't think there's ever been any with any sport where it's ever been more than like, hey, they're pretty good at that thing they play.
Jokic as well. I love Nikola Jokic.
Isn't he? Is he the?
Blue? He's the center for the Nuggets.
Oh, I was gonna say who's that tennis dude that's just been
Novak Djokovic.
I was gonna say he's making a fool of himself over in Australia.
Yeah, Novak Djokovic. Favorite sports figure currently, Blue.
I don't really have one, to be honest.
No. Once Tim Duncan retired, that was it.
I mean, for a while, I mean, like it'll like cycle. Currently, I don't really have any one sports figure that is like Pog.
Yeah,
you know?
I love this guy.
I don't really. Yeah, I don't really have anyone right now currently.
All right, well, that'll kind of wrap it up for the questions here. We'll catch up next week. We'll kind of just have a backlog, and we'll catch up to all the ones that are in here.
Thank you, friends, for listening and or watching. Just know if you ever use Substitute Protect, we cannot be friends.
Even if you make banger content on YouTube.
And aside from that, love you all. Stay safe. Whatever you're doing.
Deuces.
See you next time.